You're watching Hellfire RPGs. Today, I'll be reviewing Final Fantasy Type-0 on the PlayStation 4. It's good to see that after 28 years of Final Fantasies, there's still something new for fans to sink their teeth into. Final Fantasy Type-0 is a prime example of this. Originally released a few years ago as a Japanese exclusive for the PSP, Type-0 was finally made available to a Western audience 4 years later through a PlayStation 4 port. So what's the verdict? Type-0 is a solid RPG and offers many fresh, innovative mechanics while still staying true to many of the staples that make up a typical FF game. Type-0 is a game that you should seriously consider playing. Type-0 begins in brutal style. The opening to the game presents a young soldier's bloody dying moments with his loyal chocobo. This immediately sets the tone of the game, and I welcome this more mature style with open arms. This war-centered story starts with the Militesi Empire attacking the Dominion of Rubrum by suppressing the power of the crystal, which grants Rubrum the ability to use magic. This is where Class 0 come in to save the day, due to their ability to harness magic through alternative sources. The story flows well and is pretty straightforward for the most part of the game. This is until a massive twist later in the game that comes out of absolutely nowhere. This twist is full of complexities, which I don't really mind. What I do have a problem with, however, is that gaining a full understanding of it will require multiple playthroughs, as certain missions and plot points will only be revealed in the New Game Plus. If you like replaying RPGs for extra content, then there won't be any issues here, but I personally favour putting 100% into one single playthrough. You play the role of the 14 cadets of Class 0, who are based in Academia, which is a large magic academy and the capital of the Dominion of Rubrum. Academia acts as the main hub in the game. You'll spend a lot of time here wandering the halls, interacting with other cadets, training in the battle arena, or even breeding chocobos. This place is pretty cool, and this whole military school system reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy VIII, which I love. Between each main mission, you'll have a certain amount of time to kill until the next mission. For example, you may choose to spend your 18 hours before the next mission viewing scenes with other cadets, which takes up 2 hours, leaving the academy to explore the world, which takes up 6 hours, or undertaking an expert trial, which takes up 10 hours. This is a bit like the time limits from Lightning Returns, except it's not in real time, and that there was never a sense of urgency. I was able to do everything I wanted well before the time ran out. I was really excited when I first discovered that there was a full traditional world map in Type-0. While there are plenty of dungeons and cities to find and explore, the detail given to each one is very, very limited. Not only are most of the city icons on the map complete copies of each other, but the scope and detail inside these locations are just as basic and repetitive. I realise that this was originally a PSP game, but I expect more from a Final Fantasy title. On the flip side, many of the main locations, as well as the movie sequences, have plenty of detail and are a treat to explore and watch. Couple this with an exceptional atmospheric soundtrack, and you have a pretty well presented game for a port.
You're not wanted here, yo- Ow, you son of a bitch, that hurt!
That's enough!
As I mentioned previously, there are 14 playable characters, all members of the highly regarded Class 0. While initially it may seem as though 14 generic characters with no personality are thrown at you, it was a nice surprise to see some of the thought put into developing them. Some I really liked, others just annoyed me, and others had me convinced that they ran over budget and had to pick up a few randoms off the street to voice some of the characters.
I'm always fine. Right now, I'm feeling even better than usual. Right?
Huh?
I saved the best for last. The greatest thing about Type-0 is the excellent gameplay. Each of the 14 playable characters play so different to one another, and experimenting and customizing with every single one of them is the greatest strength of this game. Take 7 for example. She's a mid-ranged attacker that uses a whip to damage enemies. Her style of play is very different to the katana-wielding Jack, who is incredibly slow but dishes out massive damage. Each of these characters also have a load of moves that can be unlocked as they gain experience, and this lets you further customize each character. In fact, their entire playstyle can change depending on which 2 unique abilities you decide to equip. For instance, you could equip huge damage-dealing close-range attacks to King, who uses guns. Alternatively, you could equip him with ranged abilities, which will completely change the way he's played. These battles are fast, and if you don't kill your average opponent in several seconds, chances are that's because you're dead instead. While you could simply mash the attack button and dodge when required, the truly effective players will exploit the enemy's weaknesses by perfectly timing their attacks. If successful, these well-timed attacks will do about 10 times normal damage, which usually instantly kills the enemy. Your characters will die just as easily as the enemy. If you're not paying attention, you could die in an instant, which makes it crucial to pay attention to your surroundings, play it safe, and wait for an opening. When your character dies, however, they will be dead for the remainder of the mission, and you'll be forced to replace them with another character in the reserves. This makes it very important to customize and learn the strategies of all your characters, and I had absolutely no problems with that. My only real complaint with the gameplay is the bloody camera. The problem isn't that it rotates so incredibly fast, it's that it blurs the background, which is great for giving you a headache. This is something that you get used to though. I'll also mention here that the good old summons make a return, and they look pretty awesome. However, I was only able to use them a couple of times in the game because they are restricted to the main missions and at the expense of the character's life. I wish they reconfigured this system to promote a bit more use of these summons. Type-0 is a very solid RPG. It plays brilliantly, and it could be easily argued that it contains one of the best battle systems in Final Fantasy history. Class 0 are quite the interesting cast of characters and help drive this fairly entertaining story, even if some of the later plot points require additional playthroughs to fully comprehend. This was originally a PSP game, so there are some shortcomings to the presentation, but these weaknesses are balanced out by the amazing soundtrack and bloody brutal cutscenes, which are a pleasure to watch. It's really quite easy to recommend this game to RPG fans. With the lack of other options currently out there on the PlayStation 4, I say go out and give it a shot. If you liked this review, please comment, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, see you next time.